Hello, everyone. Just wanted to welcome you to the first ever episode of Let's Talk About It podcast. I am your newly appointed host, Malcolm Watkins, and I will basically be giving you guys a little introduction to me and what this podcast is going to be about. I am a Las Vegas native. I'm not born here, but I was raised here. I decided to do this podcast to hopefully reach out to some people that might have, no one to talk to, or they're unguided, or maybe they're lost and they need a little push in the right direction. So I do want to start with a little disclaimer. I do not have a PhD, guys. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional, and I'm not a shrink of any kind or a therapist. However, I do hope that today's podcast might reach out to one of you out there that hopefully are misguided or need some directions, and I can help you in that right direction. And even if it helps, a little bit, it was worth it for me. So today I will be responding to some of the questions you guys have asked. These questions are completely anonymous, so I have no clue who you are, and the audience won't either. Before we get started, I wanted to say thank you for all that have reached out and trusted me to answer your questions. Some of these get real personal, and I just wanted to say thank you guys for trusting me to respond to these questions. And again, if I'm able to help anybody in any way, that would be great. So we can get into that first question. So let me go ahead and check this out. Like I mentioned, these questions are completely anonymous. I don't know who they're from. I don't know the names of many of these people, but I do have their questions, and I'm going to do my best that I can to answer them. So question number one, they asked me, are you robbing a child of a two-parent household after leaving because of cheating? Should the child be put before the couple's happiness and trust? That's deep. Right, that's a big one. Right, I did first start this off. I wanted to preference that, I'm not a professional. And one thing about me, I don't have any kids. So when I answer these questions about being a parent, it's just going to come from a place of reference, right? I don't know what it is to have a child, but I've done multiple research. I have multiple friends and family that have children, and this is something that typically does happen a lot of the time. So I'll let you know how I feel and what I think you can do to better get through this kind of situation. I don't believe you're robbing a child of a better household with both parents. I come from a single mother myself. I do think that having both parents in the child's life is a great thing. Having that discipline, having that wisdom, having that guidance from a dad is so important to someone's life. Same as a mother, right? Having that love, that caringness of a mother as well, that warmth is also highly needed. The reason why I say that you're not robbing that child of that is because it's very important that your child gets 100% of you and 100% of the dad. And when you're being cheated on, that's the preference of the question. So if you're being cheated on, then you're not going to be able to give your child 100% of you, right? Because half of you's been broken, right? You're missing pieces. Every day you're struggling with your happiness. So how is it that you're able to give someone else that same love? So you want to make sure that you're at 100%. And if that's with somebody else, or if that's by yourself, then that should be your goal. You should focus on being the best you and allowing you to be at 100%, and that's what you give to your child. And if that's what your significant other or your partner leaves, and that's on them as well to give them their self 100%, but it's your job to give your 100%. So that's how I feel about that one. I don't believe you're robbing a child of a two-home household, especially if you find another love. You could always find another partner, and that partner might be more of the father figure or more of the mother figure to your child than the biological parent is, right? So let's go with another one. Second question is, why do females constantly run back or want to stay with the person who mistreats them instead of trying with someone who values them? That's a tough one. So I think when it comes to someone who values a woman, there's a lot of different factors. Some things go unseen. We talk about being friend zoned and things like that. And when a man can show all this time and effort to a woman, sometimes it scares them. Sometimes it's a standoffish. Sometimes they're kind of like, oh, if I go that route, that might be the end game for me. That might be, I can't have any fun. I don't want to do this or do that. And sometimes their insecurities reflect out, right? Some women like a project. So a lot of the times you'll see women that they want to get with the man and turn him into a better man. They don't want to be with someone that's already better, right? And that's vice versa, by the way. So some men fear great women. Some men fear a woman's success. They fear a woman's knowledge. Some men feel inferior to the counterpart. So that's always going to play a role in those kind of relationships. But I think as far as the question goes, it's asking why do women. Like I said, I think women kind of like to work on something. They don't want to get in something that's completely established. And that's not all the time. And I think age plays a role in that too. I think younger women tend to go with that option, while older women tend to be a little bit more wiser. They're not afraid of a man that's already developed. They don't want to go through the process. They don't have the time for that. But a lot of younger women tend to see a man and they're like, oh, I see potential. I want to create more out of this guy, or I want to be the reason why he becomes the man that he is today, instead of, finding a man that's already completely developed. Because when you're with somebody that is very high value, your insecurities tend to seep out more often. So when you're afraid, when you're with someone that has everything together, it's easy for you to realize what you don't have. Oh, he has a car. Oh, he has a job. Oh, he has a house. Oh, he has an investment account. And then a woman comes into that and they're like, oh, my job is half of what his salary is. I don't have a car yet. I don't have a bank account. I've never traveled. Like, a lot of insecurities tend to seep through when you want to compare yourself to your significant other. And that tends to be a problem. So that's how I feel about that one. Let's go on to that next question. Do you have any friends that you really admire? So the goal here was to give advice, but I will be answering some questions that people might have had. I do have a lot of friends I admire. I tend to keep my circle with people that I share common interests, or, every one of my friends I value at a high level, because that's why they're my friends. I try not to have friends that lack any value to our friendship, or to my circle. If I have a friend that I admire, it's because of who they are as a person. That's why they're my friend to begin with. They're loyal, they're honest, they're true, they're hardworking. And yeah. If I put a name on it, it can go to any of my friends. I have George Taylor is one of my best friends. Terry Johnson is one of my best friends. Brandon Myers, Jamario Gamble. All of those people, since I was a child, they've been friends of mine for longer than a decade, and I admire all of them. All my close friends have admiration for me. This is a big one. How do I gain more emotional intelligence, especially in a work setting? So this is a two-parter. I'll answer this first, and then they have something else to say. They say, I have a few very rude coworkers that I feel purposely make working with them difficult sometimes. It gets the best of me, and I end up giving them the same energy or even a little worse. So again, the question was, how do I gain more emotional intelligence, especially in a work setting? So emotional intelligence comes from the ability to acknowledge your emotions. So when something happens, right, as human beings, we tend to be more reactive than proactive. So something will trigger us and we'll be upset, or we'll be sad, or we'll get irritated. You need to have the ability to acknowledge that emotion when it comes. It's really quick. You feel anger, you go, oh, okay, I can tell that I'm angry right now. Now, when I'm angry or when I'm irritated, I'm quicker to snap. I'm quicker to respond. I'm quicker to not think. And you have to learn to slow down life, right? When these emotions hit you, you have to be able to say, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I know how I'm going to respond when I feel like this. I need to step away and take a breather. You don't ever want to be very reactive to these things. You want to be more proactive. Get ahead of it. You see it coming. You stub your toe in the morning. Oh, I might have a bad day. My day might be I might be irritated. Something might trigger me. And then little things happen. You get cut off. All right, I stubbed my toe. Now I got cut off. Now I'm late. Now I'm this, now I'm that. And you can feel it build up. But when it comes to the forefront, you have to be able to say, okay, I'm feeling this emotion. I need to make sure I don't react on it. because the people around me aren't always the reason for that emotion. And even if they are the reason for it, I don't want to say something I regret, especially in the workplace, right? For those that know me, I managed a retail store for about 10 years. I'm now an area manager where I'm at currently. I've been here for about 3 years, going on 3 years. So I've always managed people. And I got to see different acts of life. I get to see some of the people I talk to are very short-tempered. So I have to understand that when I'm talking to them, how can I build up to this conclusion? I'll talk to some of my employees and I'll be like, hey, let's sit down and have a talk, just the two of us. Maybe I take them to lunch first, but I make sure that I have a setting in which I'm not coming at them and they don't feel attacked, because I don't want that kind of reactiveness to come out of them. I don't want them to feel upset instantly. But that's the things you have to work on in a personal sense is, okay, I feel this emotion. I know what emotion is going to come and I know how I'm going to react. So I need to make sure that I'm not reactive to these little things. I don't want my coworker or someone to get an order wrong or mess something up or, something simple, misplace something, and then I blow it out of proportion and make it a lot worse. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, you need to first understand how you are as a person and how reactive you are. And then also you need to understand that what emotion you're feeling, get a grasp of it, and then that way you can properly respond to it correctly. So that's my answer to that one. Let's go on to that next one. So this one says, how do you cut people off that got a good but not in your best interest? How do you cut people off that got a good but not in your best interest? So when I read that one, got a good ... So I'm going to go ahead and say that they mean they got that good, that sensation, right? They got something in their pants that's working for you. You have to love yourself. You have to love yourself. And you have to understand that you determine where your life is going to go. One of my favorite phrases is, history will be kind to me because I intend to write it, right? And you have to understand that just because someone is good in the bedroom doesn't mean they're good for you. I think everyone kind of gets that concept, but they don't understand it to the fullest. If they are messing with anything that the direction you want your life to go in, then they cannot be around. I don't think it's bad to have, someone that you like to mess with or someone that you can call upon and, they're there. It's when things get messy and blurred that becomes a problem. I think we're all human beings. We all have, sexual, things that we have to get through and go through. However, in this particular case, just because that one thing is good, you have to outweigh the good and the bad, right? If they're taking up your time, if they're taking up space in your mind, if they're, messing with you mentally because of it, if they're distracting you, then all that plays a role. If none of that is a factor, then I don't think it matters, to be honest. If you have someone that you can call on and someone that, scratches that itch for you, per se, go ahead and have it. But if that thing is messing up your goals or whatever you have going on, you got to learn to cut them off, because you have to, like I said in the beginning, love yourself, because you have to make sure that what you got going on is more important than what they got going on. I can't keep messing with you because you're, I'm calling off or for that stuff, or I'm getting too attached, or, I'm thinking about you too much. Like, those kind of things play a role, and you also got to outweigh what you want too, because that person might be somebody you actually want, right? And if that is the case, then, you got to make that up forefront. You got to be very honest with it. Hey, this is fun. This is good. This is what we're doing. But I think I want more out of this. And if you don't want that, I got to do what's best for me. All right, let's go on to the next one. What would you do? This is deep. What would you do if your brother fucked your girl, but you loved him to death? Wow.
Who do you love to death, your girl or your brother?
Your brother. I'm pretty sure that's the context of the question, right? You loved your brother to death, but he fucked your girl. So, a lot of people have a predetermined notion of what family means to them. So a lot of people go, oh, blood before everything. Some people go, oh, blood ain't thicker than water to me. I have friends that have done better by me than my family has. And I agree with both directions. I think you don't owe anybody anything in your life. What you get out of it is what you're given. And I think that you should always give your best to your family until they lose it, right? I've always been the type, a lot of people always say you have to earn my respect. That's never been my thing. It's never been my direction. I give everybody 100% respect from the beginning, and then you can slowly lose it, right? You have 100% of me. I'll show up on time. I'll be there for you. If you need something, I'm there. If I got it, I'll give it. I can meet you today, and that's the kind of respect I'm going to give you. I'm just that kind of person. But the moment you start to mess up or do something out of pocket, then you start to lose my respect slowly, right? So for this question, there's so many factors that play a role here. How long has your relationship been going? Do you want to keep the relationship? Has your brother told you? Who told you? How did you find out? Did you find out on your own? Was it anonymous? Did someone tell you? Did he tell you? Did your girl tell you? How did you find out? I think all of that plays a factor. And were you guys together when it happened? If I'm speaking off, how I would do personally, both of them got to go. Both of them got to go. So at the time of, it's not that they can't be redeemed, but, the girl's cut off, period. The girl's done. So the girl is done. My brother's my brother, right? I have from the day you're born, they've been there, maybe, but they've been around since birth, right? Compared to whoever the woman is, that trust is now destroyed. That trust is no longer a thing. It's gone. If it wasn't a cheating factor, if your brother slept with your girl before y'all got together and he didn't know, and then y'all got together, I think that's a different question. But if it happened in a cheating manner, and your girl cheated on you, slept with your brother, she got to go forever. She'll never come back. But your brother, I think, I'd probably cut him off for a while. I think I'd be like, look, bro, that was some shady shit. I wouldn't want him around any of my future women. I'd probably be a lot more skeptical and careful. But I think people make mistakes. And I think over the time, I'd probably mend that relationship after, I felt like I healed, I'd think about it, especially if you guys are close. Like I said, that plays a role. If you guys aren't close at all, you barely talk, and he does you like that, you probably just cut him off forever, right? That's not kind of something you come back from. I think relationships are the deepest part of love, and if someone destroys that, then something is wrong with them internally, and they got to fix that on their own. You should probably back off. But if it's your brother, you truly do love him, it was a mistake, something happened, I don't know what could have happened, or maybe it was a drunk night, she's going to go forever. I'm going to have to cut my brother off for a little bit until I heal, and I'm able to forgive and forget, So that's a big one. That one's tough. My next one is, have you ever received death threats? And if so, how would you handle it? No, I don't think I could. I could give you what I believe how I would react, but on this one, it's going to be a tough topic to speak on. I've never received death threats. And honestly, if I did, I'd probably ignore them. It depends on how they come, right? If it's face-to-face and someone threatened my life, then, I defend myself in whatever manner I seem fit at the time. But if it's through the internet, on any social media, and someone's sending out a death threat, I think that it's common. For some reason, we just see that every day now. Go kill yourself. I'll kill you. I'll do this. And I grew up in an age where, I played a lot of Call of Duty. We're in there sending different messages to each other. Things get heated and things get crazy, but how would I deal with it would simply just be to ignore it. Block them. Don't let that person have access to you. Unless things start to get more serious, of course. If if you start to see them, if they start to show up at places, if they actually attempt anything, then of course get the authorities involved. And you got to keep yourself safe. Always protect yourself, and you have to have that threat assessment. How serious is this? If you made music, how would you promote it if your friends and family don't support? So if I made music, I don't make music, but one of my closest friends do. Actually, a few of my closest friends do. And I support them in every way I can. They do their shows. Maybe they need. I've paid for my brother's recording time. I paid for his studio time. Hey bro, let's go do this. I want to get it done today. I'll go with you. I'll do the ad libs. I'll pay for it. I've done that. I've been there. I've been that friend. And I think if your friends and family aren't supporting, there is a group of people for everything. Right? You have to find that avenue or place where you can go to get support in other ways. Especially if you believe you want to get your talent out there. If you have music, that your music is good, and you have the talent and the drive, go pursue it. Go pursue it. Just because your friends and family aren't messing with it, the world is full of nothing but people. And art shows its way in a lot of different forms, and music is one of the most beloved. So if you're an artist and you want to make music and your friends and family are supporting you, that's fine. You don't need their support. What you need to do is pursue it at the highest level you can. Go after it. Chase it. Go do shows. Go put it on your social media. I think consistency is the key to anything in life, right? The gym works the most the more you're consistent. Social media works when you are very consistent. So just go out there, get your music to as many people as you possibly can, and networking is so important. So try and get your music in front of as many hands as possible, as many ears as possible to listen. If they'll listen, get them to. And someone might hear it and latch on and be like, hey, man, I want you to come do this. I want you to do this. And the next thing you know, you're opening up for someone big. And then you're headlining your own stuff, Music is one of those things where, like I said, you can go out there and do it on your own. Of course, you need connections. There's production. There's so much stuff that plays a role in music. So go out there, try to get your music in front of as many people that will listen as possible. And, don't give up. Be consistent. Do it on your own if you have to, but really pursue it at a high level. And then you'll find new friends, and you'll find a new group of people that support your music. You'll find fans, people that listen and like, and they'll share it and they'll support it. Because music is one of those social things where it needs to be heard in order for you to be successful in it, right? You can't be a musician with, one fan. It doesn't work that way. So you do have to network and get it out there and make sure as many people can hear what you're saying as possible. What is the best financial advice you received? So for people that do know me, I was in a finance company for about 3 years. During that time, I studied for my 63. Those are investment licenses. I had licenses, other insurances and things like that. We learned a ton of stuff while we were there. We heavily promoted buy term and invest the difference. And what that is buying life insurance while you're alive and having money to invest for when you're approaching that retirement date, right? So probably the best advice I can give when it comes to finance on like just a very simple, quick note. There's a rule called the rule of 72. And what the rule of 72 is you take your interest rate and you divide it into 72, and that's how long it takes for your money to double. So if you have a mutual fund and it does 12% rate of return, that means every 6 years that money doubles. So you would divide that 12 into 72, 6. And every 6 years your money will double. So you're going to go ahead and make sure you're checking that interest rate. And, that goes for whatever the division is. So it would be vice versa, right? So if you're getting 6%, it'll take 12 years. So make sure you're paying attention to your rate of return and how much money you're investing. Retirement's so important. A lot of people that are in the finance industry, I believe the ratios, don't quote me on it, but I think it's about 40% of people that have an investment license or are in that industry have a higher chance of retiring because they understand how money works and where to put it and watching that money grow so that they have a retirement account and what they're going to need to be financially independent. So that's probably the best I can give you. The rule of 72. If you've never learned it, You've learned it now. Make sure you remember it. How did you become the person you are today? So, I'm a pretty critical thinker, but I think a lot of my personality and who I am comes from the ability to listen. Listening is a skill, and you have to be able to actually hear when people are talking to you. A lot of times you'll hear people say, "Oh, it's just going in one ear and out the other," right? And that's because a lot of people's minds are scattered or they're on other things. I mentioned this a little earlier, but I was raised by a single mother. So I was able to watch my mom struggle often, a lot. She did everything that she could to provide in the best way possible. And I don't look back at it. A lot of people ask me, do you feel any remorse for not having your dad around, or is this or that? And I don't, because I don't feel it. The person I am, I feel like I've become a great person because of it. And I don't feel like I have any negative outcomes because of it. I don't think I've reflected on it too much, but the person I am today, I do have 5 sisters. I have 3 of them that were typically around a lot when I was growing up, that lived with me at different times, different things like that. But if you know anything about women, they talk. And they talk about everything. So when I have, different sisters having different boyfriends at different times, my mom having different boyfriends at different times, my mom going through marriage, my sister's going through life, I get to see it from different angles and aspects, especially from the women's perspective. I don't have any biological, well, I do have one biological brother, but I found him later in life. But most of my knowledge on how life works came from a woman's perspective, but then I got to live as a man and grow onto that maturity level as well. But I was able to listen. My sisters would sit there and talk for hours with my mom, or they would talk about what this guy does or what that guy does, or what this is going on at work, or what this is happening. And I would just listen. I would just sit there. I would take it all in. And I would just, if that ever comes to me, or that ever happens, I know how to handle it. If this ever happens, I know how to handle it. And because of that, I was very open to listening to people in my life. So I had a lot of girlfriends that would come to me and talk to me and ask me for advice and things like that. And then I was able to start comparing things and putting things in different perspectives. If I get one girl that's like, hey, my boyfriend cheated on me because of this, I would sit there and listen to what she has to say. And I would take it in. And then I'd have another friend that'd be like, I just got cheated on. I'd be like, how'd it happen? This is what happened. Okay. And now I can start piecing pieces together. So when people ask me for advice, I go, well, I had a friend that went through something just like that. I had another friend that this just happened to them. Let me tell you what she did to get through it. Let me tell you how they did. Experiences and all of that play a role and a factor. And I think that's pretty much my take on what I did to become the person I am. And when you're listening to a lot of these things, that's what builds wisdom, right? It allows you to build a different kind of thought process on when you hear something. You can see it from multiple angles and directions, and I'm a very open person. I always say the mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. If you close it, you're falling to death. So keep that mind open, listen and interpret, hear everything that people were saying to you, and then being able to respond to them is important. But that builds a lot of character, and it helps you gain that experience and that wisdom. I believe wisdom isn't the ability to experience something and then explain it. It's the ability to understand history, right? I don't need something to happen to me for me to know what it's like to go through it, because I've watched someone else go through it, and I can take that experience with me and keep that on. Besides that, I like to believe I'm a nice person. I do everything, like I said earlier. I give everyone 100% of me until they lose it. I'm very focus-driven. I read a book once. It's called Outwitting the Devil. It's by Napoleon Hill. And in this book, he talks about the devil's biggest weapon is called hypnotic rhythm. And what that is it makes people drift through life, and they don't have any defined purpose or vision. And me as a person, I always have a goal, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a life goal, a physical goal. I always put goals. A goal not written down is a dream. So make sure your goals are written, right? Because then they can become accomplished, and they're things that you focus on. And that's part of my personality. I'm goal driven. I'm caring. I'm honest. I'm true to who I am. And anyone that knows me can typically speak upon that. But those are the morals that I carry with me, and those are the morals that I've grown with. And that's what developed me as a person and who I am. Is I just want to give my all to everything I can. If I try one thing, I want to put my best foot forward and give 100% of who I am to it to see how the outcome is. And then I might pursue something else if I feel like it. But I've always been that type of person, and that's pretty much how I became who I am today. And of course, there's experiences in my life too, different relationships that I've been in, that I've got to experience the negatives and the positives. And I always was at a higher mature level from a young age. My mom created a very independent person, and because of that, I was able to experience things very early on. So that's it. That's who I became, and that's how I became who I am today. If you had $10,000, how would you invest it? So if I just had a random 10 grand, there's a few things that I would do with it. I think you should get a handle on your debt. So if you have a lot of debt, that's something you pay on a monthly basis, right? Everything you pay off now becomes more money in your pocket, right? If I have to pay a loan that's $200 a month, and it's a $4,000 loan, if I just got 10 grand, I'd pay that loan off completely, because that's an extra $200 a month that's going to be in my pocket. So 10 grand's not a lot. It's not a lot of money to come across, but it can impact your life in a big way. And I think that's one of the biggest things is make sure you handle your debt first. Get all of your debt paid. Make sure all of your debt is taken care of. That allows you to maintain more money in your pocket from your paychecks, whatever it is. Get your debt handled. It's going to increase your credit score, things like that. But definitely get that handled first. And if you're just asking, you already have everything taken care of and you got a random 10 grand, put it in a mutual fund. If you don't already have one, a mutual fund is similar to, it's what a 401k is. A lot of people know it as a Roth IRA. But a mutual fund is basically they take your money, they put it in the S&P mid-cap. So they put it in like the top 500 companies in the world. And they invest that money into different things, different companies, and you just sit there and let it grow. I've had a highly aggressive account since I was 22. I'm 29 today. I've averaged about 16% rate of return since I invested it. So that account does really well. But that's my retirement account, right? I can't touch it. So that's how I would invest the money if I was already successful, already had everything good. If I don't have everything good, handle my debts first so that I can keep more money in my pocket. Would you change anything different that you've been through? I have a tattoo on my forearm. I wrote it when I was 16. And it says, "No regrets, many sorrows. May the path I lead be one I'd follow." And I wouldn't change anything. Like I said in the phrase, no regrets, many sorrows, right? I'm going to have no regrets, but I'm going to go through so much stuff that makes me sad. I'm going to have so many sorrows through my life. Losing people, I make a mistake and I lose them because of me, or I take the wrong path, or I go the wrong direction. All of those I consider sorrows. They're things that happen throughout my life that I probably could have did a better job at. I could have managed this better. I could have responded better. I could have tried harder. But I'll never regret any of it because it's what made me who I am today. And a lot of people like to say that. But I do believe regrets exist. So I don't regret anything in the path that I've taken in my life, but I do believe that some people might regret not doing things. Everything happens for a reason. But if you do wrong by somebody, I hope that you try to fix it. I don't think you need to regret it. It's another sorrow. You might feel remorseful. But as long as you tried your best to accommodate for whatever you messed up or the mistake you made, then you did your best. It's all different times in life, different walks of life. And we were all 12 years old, 13 years old, 16 years old. We were all young once. We all didn't know who we were, what we were doing, but we tried our best. And I think that's why you should live your life with no regrets. Here's a question. This one wasn't submitted, A friend actually sent me this one directly. So it's a serious question for men. Why is it that when a girl is good to y'all don't want to hear her, and y'all be entertaining every other girl looking your way, but when she leaves, meets someone new, and tries to move on with her life, now y'all want to be on her phone trying to play in her face? So, what happens here a lot is a lot of you probably already heard the phrase, but you don't know what you have until it's gone, right? You can have something that is readily available to you at all times, and it's really hard to, a lot of people say give flowers, right? It's really hard to pay homage to the things that are right in front of you happening in real time. And it's important for you to know that, by the way. So if you don't acknowledge the fact that it's easy for you to forget what you have while you have it, you need to learn that, right? It's very transparent. You need to learn how to be more transparent and pay attention to what's in front of you, because you will miss those things when they're gone, and you won't miss them until they're gone. So make sure that you are readily, actively paying attention to the things that are in front of you. You're giving flowers and you're paying homage to the people that are making you feel good on a day-to-day basis, the people that you do love, the people that are there and providing and helping you in every aspect. In this particular case, she's asking, why do men not see good women, right? And I think that's a role. I wouldn't call those guys men. I might call them boys. I think real men can see what's in front of them, and they know how to capitalize on the moment and take advantage of what they can have. But you gotta also think that there's a time and a place for everything. You know, when I met the girl I'm with now, me and my girlfriend have been together for 5 years. And when we first met, she was 14, I was 16. By the time I was 21 and she was 19, she was very focused on us being together. And I wasn't, right? And I knew where I was in my life, and I knew where she was in her life, and she was great. You know, I even we had a conversation at one point, and I was like, hey, look, if we got together, it would never end. And for a woman, that sounds like a fairy tale, right? Oh, we can be together forever. But for me at that time, it didn't sound like a good idea, because I had so much other stuff I had to handle and take care of. I also didn't want to settle down. I wanted to still go out and have fun. I think those things get eliminated when you're in a relationship. You have to, you have to be honest. You have to be loyal, and it can't be all play. And at that time, I was 21. I wanted to play. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to go out and have fun. I knew the woman that was in front of me. I knew what she meant to me, and I knew what she could be. I knew the potential of our relationship. But I told her, to her face, hey, I'm not going to put us on a plane that's going to crash. If I know that this plane is going to crash, why would I set us up for failure, right? I could tell where she was at mentally and where I was at mentally. We weren't going to come together and create something great. Yeah, we might be good for each other, but at that time, she had some stuff she had to work through. I had some stuff I had to work through, and I was able to, acknowledge that. I was able to realize that, and I had, the wisdom and the guidance to tell her, and I wasn't afraid, and I was honest. Hey, give me a few years. When I'm 25, I think I'll be ready, and she did. She gave me about 3 years. Like, I hit her up. I said, hey, I miss you. She said, say less. I'll be in Vegas in a week. I said, all right. She came to Vegas right away. Left whatever she had going on out there, and the rest is history. She's been in Vegas ever since. I moved her in with me pretty much right away. I ended up going to Japan, so I left for a week or two right when she came back. But that's pretty much how it worked, and it's the best thing that's happened thus far. So I definitely set it up properly in my head. At the time, I didn't think it would work. I gave it a few years, and the rest is history. So yeah, back to that question. I think a lot of people don't know what they have until it's gone. So if you're good to a man, you're there, you're readily available, everything is great until you're missing. Then they realize, oh shit, I don't have this conversation with the person I want every day. I miss having someone there for me to help me with this, And sometimes it's good to make people miss you. It's good to make people miss you. So whenever someone's taking advantage of you or you feel like you're not appreciated, you should walk away. Give it some time. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. because timing is important. Like I said, it doesn't mean that, they're bad. Like everything about them is, no longer accessible, but you should walk away because that gives them chances to be like, dang, I missed what I had. I do want that. Maybe that's something I do need, but it lets them reflect and it lets you reflect. Maybe that's something I don't need. Maybe I don't want that person that's not acknowledging me. Maybe I don't need to keep putting time and effort into something that's not valuing my time and effort, right? So let's go on to that next one. Oh, this is a big one. I met someone 2 months ago and everything is good with him so far. We haven't taken the next step and he keeps asking me when I'll be ready. What is a reasonable time frame to wait without giving him the impression that I'm easy? First of all, you already passed that threshold. 2 months, there's a lot of women that give it up in 2 minutes. So 2 months is, I think, already a good enough threshold. I think you should determine, when you feel comfortable. But what I will say about this question is a lot of women don't take the time to figure out who that man is before they give that man their body, right? If you think that a man is going to leave you right after he sleeps with you, you should probably screen that out. If that's what you want. If you see a man and you see value and you want something more than just a sexual relationship, then you should develop a friendship, or you should develop something to where you understand the person that you're going to be sleeping with. So if you can realize, oh, I like this person means a lot, or I like this person, I want this person to be more to me than just, sex, then you should screen that person and really vet them out. Go on a few dates, hang out with them and their friends, see how they act around different people. You should. One thing that a lot of people hear, but I don't think they take advantage of, you should take people out to dinner and see how they treat that waiter. See how they treat that waitress. See when their food comes out cold, how do they react? What kind of person are they? Do they treat people bad? Do they open doors? Do they pay attention to you? If you've been seeing someone for a few months and they don't know your favorite color, they don't know what you like, they don't know that your favorite sports team, that means they're probably not invested in you, and you probably shouldn't give them, something as sacred as your body, right? If that's what you want from them, then you should take your time, but you need to vet these men out. I see way too often that women get with guys and they're like, oh, I didn't expect him to be like that. I didn't know he was a cheater. I didn't know this and that. It's like, well, you probably should have took more time to figure out the man that you were with, right? And don't jump into things. A lot of times looks are important to people, and they see someone that they're attracted to, and instantly, they want to have something more than just a friendship. But take your time. Take your time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with giving into your body's cravings either. If you feel like you need to go out there and crack something, go out there and crack something. But you should take your time with the people that you want to be with, and vet them out, because that'll show you what they want. And I'm going to tell you right now, if it's already been 2 months, that man don't think you're easy, because a lot of women give it up faster than 2 months. 2 months is a long time to wait. And if you've already had it for that long, you're far past the easy question. All right. But that's how I feel about that. And I think you guys should really take that into consideration. Really vet out the men that you're with. Put them in, a phrase that I used to say is, people are a lot like tea bags. You put them in hot water, you can find out the flavor. So take these people out. See what they're like under pressure. See what they're like when they're, in a bad situation. And then you can see what kind of person you're with. And then you can decide if that's the person you want to, sleep with or have something more than just a friendship. And my last two, these are also submissions that were from friends. It says, why do some men let their sisters be rude to their partner? I mentioned I have 5 sisters, right? All ages. And do I think my sisters have been rude to my partner? Yes. Some of my sisters are very protective. I have girl best friends that were rude to my partner. And in my case, I do not pick sides. I'm not a person that will side with you because who you are. I believe in a right and a wrong, and if I feel you were wrong, then I'm not going to be the one right there behind you like, oh, just because you're wrong, I'm going to protect you because you're wrong. I'm not. If you were wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. I won't let things get out of hand, but if you do something and my sister reacts in a way and I feel like she's in the right to react that way, I'm going to let her react that way. Why would you say that? Because now she's reacting this way, right? But I think in context of this text, because a lot of people believe that, oh, they're just going to let their family say or treat me however they want. You know, this happens a lot with moms. A lot of relationships are like, oh, your mom hates me. Your mom treats me like shit. Your mom this, your mom that. And your partner's emotional, balance should always be put into consideration. You should always hear and listen to what your partner has to say. And as a man, it's your job to make your partner feel protected and comfortable, right? It is your job to be there, but it's also your job to provide wisdom and guidance. So in my case, if my girl did something and my sister reacted in a rude way because of what my girlfriend responded, I'm going to take my girlfriend to the side and be like, hey, I understand you're upset. I understand she's upset. I'll talk to my sister too at another time. But why would you did this to spark this? This is why this happened this way. So you need to see it from both perspectives. She acted that way, yes, because you acted this way. And this caused this. But you should be that guiding presence as the man of a household. You should be the mediator. You should be the one that's able to balance that out and communicate it to both parties. Because ultimately, if you have love for your sister and love for your girl, then you don't want to come in between either one of them. You don't want to be pushing either one of them away because of it. So you should definitely take your family's opinion and how they feel and what they say into consideration. And then you also need to make sure that your girlfriend understands why, how, what's going on, and if she was in the wrong. But it goes vice versa. If your sister does something out of pocket, you need to protect your girl and tell your sister, hey, you got to chill out. That wasn't okay. Right? And you have to be that mediator, that person that can communicate that in both directions. So that's something that you got to pay attention to. And that's something that happens way more often than not. And as men, you guys have to get better at communicating and understanding and listening, because it's your job to handle that. Any confrontation in your household, as a man, it's your job to squash it and get it handled. Whether that's with your children, your family, your partner, as a man, it's your job to make sure that gets handled. Why do some men take long to propose to their partners? That's a big one too. I think marriage, you have to know your perspective on marriage for this question, right? A lot of people, when you get married, you tend to go to a church. You have vows, a pastor is involved, and a lot of people aren't religious. So if your partner is very religious and you're not, and marriage is number one on their bucket list, but to you, it's not a real thing, right? To you, you've never thought about marriage. To you, marriage never crossed your mind. And, society has kind of put marriage at the forefront of a lot of things, but there's a lot of factors. Wealth is a factor in marriage. There's tax benefits. There's so many different things that come with marriage. And a lot of younger women, that's their end-all, be-all. They think about marriage. They can't wait to get married. But growing up as a man, that's not something you see often, and it's not something you dream about. I've watched my mom get married once, and then I watched her divorce. I watched my sister get married once. I watched her divorce. So seeing that in real time and going through that, you kind of want to avoid that, right? So I think that might play a role in a factor. And then it's the reverse. Some people come from a very happily married family, and when that typically happens, those are the ones that propose very soon, right? A lot of the people that I know that are married, they come from either a very Christian household or a very religious background, or they have a married mom and dad, and they watch that family their whole life, and that's what they want, so they're going to duplicate it. They're going to want to get married because that's where they come from. They come from marriage. They don't fear marriage. Or like I said, some people just don't even think about marriage, you know. Speaking from personal experience, I'm not married, right? And my example is pretty much exactly how I said, right? I'm not a religious person, but my girlfriend is very so. And a perspective that I mentioned earlier is that you want to take into account both perspectives, right? I know that that's something my girlfriend wants. I know that's something that she seeks. It's in her religion. It's in her character. But I've never, it's crossed my mind as I got older because of the image of marriage that society has given. But until I come into an understanding of what I want and how I feel about it, you know, then I can fully decide on how I feel about it. But until then, that's what she has. This is what I have. So when people ask, oh, what's taking so long? Or why do men take so long? It could be women too. You know, it can go both ways. Some women don't want to get married. Some men don't. I do think fear might play a factor. I think some people are like, oh, commitment comes with marriage. That doesn't cross my mind. I'm going to be loyal and honest from day one. I'm fully committed. I'm already fully committed. And some people believe, oh, well, if that's the case, marriage doesn't have to happen. You know, I've already committed my life to you. You already committed your life to me. We've been together for this long. Why do we need to put a title on it? And I think that's a valid thing to say too. I think that's something that you guys have to discuss and converse. You know, that's something you have to talk about. If marriage is really important to you and your culture or who you are as a person, your partner needs to know that. Hey, I'm not going to wait forever. This is important to me, and this is something that I live and abide by. And as your partner, this is what would make me happy, and I think your partner should understand that and acknowledge that and do what they can to make you happy. You know, a relationship is you give 100, they give 100, you guys have 200 when you come together. So all that plays a role in a factor, but I don't think that you should get upset if you haven't tried to communicate it. So until you have that conversation with your significant other and let them know that you want marriage, it shouldn't be something that makes you upset that they haven't popped a question, or maybe they are thinking about it, but they don't feel like they're good enough. There's so many factors in what can result in a man waiting or a woman waiting too long to either answer your question or to ask the question, you know? And that's another thing is traditional marriage. Who asks the question? All that plays a role in a factor, but I think you should probably communicate that in your relationship ahead of time. That way you guys both have an understanding of where your end-all, be-all is at and where you plan to finish in the end of that relationship, to be married or to not. That's a good one. All right. We got through them all. So that was all the questions I had. You know, that was everything that's been submitted so far, everything that people have asked. I hope I've been able to maybe give some guidance or maybe give you guys some kind of direction or answered your question in a way that was, you know, positive for you, or something that might have, you know, clicked when I was speaking, something that might have hit a nerve, or something that might have really made you think a lot more and deepen it into what the outcome could be or what actions you could take. I do plan to shoot some more. I do want you guys to know I want to have some guests on. Of course, I would love to have a female perspective on a lot of these things. I do plan to have more episodes come along and just ask more questions. You know, a lot of these questions get really deep. A lot of these questions aren't. A lot of these questions are simple. A lot of these questions are layered and multi-layered. So, like I said, I really hope I was able to maybe guide some people today, maybe answer all the questions that you guys asked. If you guys have more, the link will be submitted, of course. You can follow us on all social media. That's going to be on Let's Talk About It podcast. So, yeah, just let me know. Just know when you do ask for this advice, guys, make sure you're putting, you know, age and genders on there. That way I can kind of better direct the question in a manner that might suit that situation more. You know, talking to an 18-year-old is a lot different than talking to a 30-year-old. So if you guys can put ages and questions, that would be great. Yeah, I hope you guys look forward to what's to come. And, hey, thanks for stopping by and submit those questions. You know, let's talk about it. So thanks, guys.